All right, this is DJ Neska with COMA Music Magazine. I'm sitting here with Sektor, just finishing their triumphant Disheveled tour, which closed last night in Wilmington, Delaware. We have a couple questions for you guys. Thanks for sitting down with us.
My pleasure.
Your new album, The Final Electro Solution, seems to bear a heavy dubstep influence. What do you think of the current trend in industrial music borrowing from dubstep?
I think it's I think it's good to draw any kind of influence from any kind of electronic music you possibly can. Completely mix it up. It's kind of silly to keep a genre somewhat stagnant. And yeah, I think it's good for the growth. It's kind of like when trance influenced industrial. It's just another movement.
Yeah, and when we wrote that album, I don't think there was a lot of people doing it yet, so we weren't sure how people would take it, but we really didn't care. Just wanted to write what we thought was good music, and I'm kind of glad that it took off a little bit, because obviously there was some kickback from it, but people are like, dubstep, actually, and a lot of stuff we're doing is not exactly dubstep at all, but it's just taken that way. But it's a good thing. It's a very good thing.
Cool. Well, your albums all have a different kind of sound. What are your influences in creating the differing styles?
I guess usually I kind of take whatever I've been listening to at the time. I'm a big fan of artists such as like BT and Infected Mushroom, and then throw some Skinny Puppy in there, and it kind of all comes together. Our new album that's coming out next month, 3 months from now, November, is kind of interesting because it's one of the first albums we ever done where I kind of almost took life influence and just kind of ran with it. It wasn't really a particular genre or any kind of artist we were listening to. I just kind of wrote we kind of wrote what we were feeling. So it's actually completely different yet again.
Yeah, I think with the new album too, it's on the past albums you could hear like say, okay, that's a trance influence, that's a drum and bass influence. On this new one, there's some instances, but there's so much stuff that it kind of just blended together so much that to me it's entirely something different. It's going to be much harder for people to pick out the influences, other than maybe some kind of old school influences. There's some definite Skinny Puppy moments again, and but it's really experimental stuff too.
Cool. Well, what influence, if any, has your hometown of Atlanta had on your music?
Well, I mean, Atlanta is really big on hip hop, but there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. Today it's hard to be influenced by. There's not like a scene to be influenced by an industrial there or anything, but it could have brought. I mean, we're very warm to hip hop. Kind of has a soft spot in my heart because Atlanta's really big on it, and especially like the southern kind of more loopy, funky hip hop stuff. But outside of that, it's really hard to say. Just maybe life in Atlanta in general has some influence. Yeah, very urbanized and but yet still like a kind of bubble in the South. It's probably what kind of makes us a little bit weirder than other bands, I'd say.
There been any non-electronic artist in particular that's influenced you greatly?
I honestly listen to everything from Pink Floyd to David Bowie to metal artists such as like Protest the Hero and The Blood. I'm really into that kind of stuff too. I'm really all over the map with my musical tastes.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I listen to anything that's good. I don't I don't say like here's a genre I want to check it out. I just find good music that I like to listen to.
Cool.
So definitely.
So what other musical styles would you like to draw from in the future?
We've talked about like a lot of kind of the stuff going on in the Witch House movement, and there's maybe some little remnants of it in the new album that we wrote, but it's already written. We spent the last year working on it. So when we decide to write another Sektor album, then we're thinking drum and bass was one big thing we talked about.
I'm really digging that genre right now, actually.
And then maybe some Witch House influences of that type.
Cool. So does writing and composing serve as a sort of therapy and stress relief for you guys?
Oh yeah, that's how I deal with the world pretty much. It's kind of like my way of expressing myself.
Yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, I always kind of go through like a really like up and down times when, especially when I'm working on like the lyrics and the themes, trying to access, emotion and whatnot. And I try to draw on the emotion that I hear in the music that Scott's writing. So yeah, I mean that is the whole point. And then once it's all said and done, I start to feel a lot better. But when I'm going into it, it's just I normally have a good meltdown or two, and I like to call them nervous breakdowns. But
Musical
yeah,
breakdowns.
you got to go like into it. I'm feeling okay, and then I go into it and I go down, and then once it's done being written, I come back up and yeah.
Well, if you could go back in time to meet any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Holy moly. I mean, I'm in school. I'm a history major, so I mean, there's just like so many names that pop up in my head when I say that. Wow.
Yeah, that's something I've never really thought about.
I'd like to go back in time and meet like Stone Age Isaac Newtons, because I know they existed. Like people think that that like some of these inventions, like farming and the wheel and everything, was like invented over a long period of time. But chances are there's probably just like one guy who was like an Albert Einstein of the time and like figured out something, amazing in his lifetime. That's kind of what I'd like to see if that theory is correct. If there were like, our brains are the same as they were nearly a million years ago. So there were people born with, everyone had the same intelligence, could do the same math back then. And yeah, Stone Age Einsteins, I guess, is, yeah. What about you?
I really don't even know how to answer that, honestly.
That's all right. You'll get a
I
pass
have no
on that one.
names.
Yeah.
The next one's a two-part question. Is there an experience you'd like to have while on tour across the U.S. that you haven't? Followed by, have there been any misadventures on tour?
Ooh.
Go for it, man.
I
I think Scott had his good time on this tour.
oh yeah, it's been, the whole tour's been time of my life, honestly. It's been very fun.
Yeah.
And maybe like I wouldn't mind playing in an arena somewhere like to like thousands of people. That would be pretty incredible.
Yeah, that'd be good. I get what I want out of it, like good times, a couple good parties. It's a lot of work, so like you maybe a couple nights when the schedule works out, you actually get to like have a good time with friends. And and a big part of it is like meeting people that I might only see on social networks and stuff, and then meet them in person and find out if they're cool, develop friendships and stuff like that. But I can't say there's something that I haven't been able to do, but certainly lots of horrible things pop up in my mind when I think about that. But yeah, so I'll just leave that there.
Yeah, we don't have to go to
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
All right, the last question is there a particular reason why the Disheveled Tour seemed to largely avoid southern states?
It kind of had to do with just the routing, and like we played, I guess, what southern places there are to play fairly recently, and we really wanted to play places we hadn't played. That was the whole goal of this tour. And there are places we played before, but it was like just good stops to get a place to sleep, and places where we knew we had fan bases and would have a good time. Like this is one. We played less than a year ago here, and but the show offer popped up, and Frontal Boundary had set this up, so we're like, yeah, we definitely want to do it again. And also, we're probably going to do some like Florida date. Well, we have some Florida dates coming up with Cyclone 9 and Dawn of Ashes on that tour. We're going to do Miami, Orlando, and then Atlanta. And outside of that, I'm not sure where to play in the South. I'd like to play Charlotte one day, but it seems like really hard to. That's kind of like my hometown, so it'd be really cool to like play in front of all my old friends and stuff. But Birmingham, Alabama, I don't know. Like Texas, we'd like to get to there at some point, but for some reason there's some weirdness in Texas with Dissector. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for sitting down with us. We appreciate it. You did a great show last night, and we hope to see you again soon. Look forward to the new album.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.